Hey guys, it's Cookie, and today I just wanted to do a quick tutorial on how to get Anki started in the simplest way possible. I'm going to be focusing on Japanese vocab, so if you're looking for a way just to get started in Japanese, this is a great video for you. And this is going to kind of go over a little bit of settings as well, so no matter what you're really using it for, just the most basic setup, this software when you're getting started can be really overwhelming, and I was hoping to be a simplifying factor for that, as most videos on the internet have been a little bit hard to follow. So real quick, how you're going to do it is you're going to want to go ahead and download Anki first. So go ahead and hop into Google and just type Anki. You're going to get this first link here. Go ahead and click that first link. It's going to bring you to the Anki site. Now you can just click this download at the top, but I personally like to scroll down here and click this download. That just shows me exactly what version I'm getting, and you're going to want to make sure it's 2.1.43. It may be a newer version after this. You can get any version of Anki, but you're going to want the latest just so you get all the features. You're going to want to go ahead and download and install that and open it. Once you get that open, go ahead and come back to your browser and type in Anki downloadable decks. You're going to want to go ahead and click shared decks right here, and it's going to bring you to this page. Now you can go ahead and do any deck you want, but this is going to also show you how to get a deck working from the very get-go, so you're just started. The one I'm using is the Japanese one. So you're going to go into Japanese. Here's a list of all the community uploaded decks. I personally like Japanese Core 2K sorted with audio, as I thought this one was the most basic one for starting to get vocab. So you're going to want to go ahead and click that. There's a lot of stuff here. Go ahead and just ignore it all. This gives you an example of what's sort of going on, but it has a lot of layers, so again, it can seem kind of confusing. All you're going to want to do is scroll down here, and you're going to find this blue download. You're just going to want to go ahead and click that. It's going to download onto your desktop. You can put it on your desktop or any file you really want. Just have that file at the ready, and then you're good to go as far as downloads. Now we're going to go ahead and hop into Anki. So Anki, at the very basic, should look something like this. It may be white, it may be black, depending on the version you have. If you want to change it to night mode, you're going to go File, or Edit, or Tools, or Help. These are all the different settings up here. But for changing it, you're going to go to Tools, Preferences, and in here, these are my basic settings. I have night mode, that's what makes it dark. I'm just going to go through these quick settings here. You can go ahead and copy these. Other than the night mode, you can really just leave these at the very basic. So here's just my settings. If you want to copy any of them, feel free to pause the video at any of those. But so now you should have all of this, except you should just have something that says default right here. It'll say default, and then no numbers, and then this setting bar. So what you're going to want to do is you want to click import file, and then you're going to go ahead and grab that folder that you downloaded. Then that's going to go ahead and bring in here this Core 2000, and you're going to see this right here. Now you are basically good to go. As far as just using Anki, you're in the ballpark. But the one thing that I struggled to find and I didn't feel was explained very well is the preferences. There's a lot of different options for this. So if you click the settings right next to your Core 2000 and you go to options, you're going to get this settings. I have set up mine as Japanese basic vocab. It'll say default right there at basic, and you can adjust these settings in default, or you can make a new thing right here. This just basically stores all your settings under a name. It doesn't matter what this says. So as for settings right here, to give you a quick explanation, there's a lot of videos that have explained this better and in depth, but I just want to give you the very basic, get it started. So right here, this is the intervals when you click easy. So if I go ahead and go in here and review a question, you're going to get your basic thing. So right here's the card. This is it used in a sentence, and if I click show answer, I'm going to get the answer with the audio because of the downloaded deck, and then I'm going to get an English sentence, the words, another English. This is the basic layout of this. Then you're going to get these four options. How it works at a very basic level. If you click again, it's going to give you the question immediately again. It's going to basically tell Anki, hey, I didn't get that. Not really possible. This says 10 minutes for me because I've already done this, and this is one that has been learned in mine. And then you can click hard. Hard is basically going to tell it that you understood it, but it took you some time, so give it to me with a little bit of a shorter interval. So you still want it back, but you want it to be quicker. You want to see that again quicker because you weren't so certain on it. Good is the very basic. I understood that. I did that. And so it's going to do its basic percentages, and I'll explain those percentages in just a moment. And then easy basically says it was really easy, so it does more percentages. Again, I'll show you. So basically, all you got to know is if you don't understand, click again. If you kind of got it, click hard. If you got it, click good. If it was no problem at all, click easy, or you may possibly want to delete the card. So that's an example of this. Now, if I go back into my decks here, so by clicking decks at the top, I go back into the options. We're going to go and sort of explain this now that you know what the buttons are. So the steps in minutes are basically if you click that easy button, what is going to be what it sort of pops up as. So 1 minute and then 5 minutes is what I have set up. So if I click easy, it's just going to be 1 minute. If I click easy again, I'll see it in 5 minutes. That's just the basic learning curve of when you're getting it set up. You can do that. You can also change this to 1 and 10. That's the default. But it really depends. I like to go fairly quickly because I'm just doing words. I'm not doing sentences or anything. So 1 and then 5 works great for me. You can also add more and say you could put 10 here. So it would go 1, 5, 10. Every time you press easy, you'll see that word again in 1 minute, in 5 minutes, in 10 minutes. But I personally like 1 and 5. The orders, I like to do random order. I don't want there to be any correlation. So if I'm making my own deck or using something online, it's completely random. You can do ones that aren't in a random order and are just in sorted order, but that'll just mean that the way you added them is how you'll see them. And if you do that, it may get repetitious depending on how you put them in there. New cards a day. I recommend putting 10 to start out. You're learning the software right now. You're getting used to everything. Then this one you can completely change. So this is how many new flashcards you're going to look at each day. So that is completely up to you. The graduating interval, I leave that at 1 day. The easy interval, I leave that at 4 days. And then the starting ease is 131. Again, there's videos that explain these a lot better, but these are my settings. They're based on Matt vs. Japan and a couple of videos I watched. You can go ahead and copy these. These are the best basic settings. If you want to look at an in-depth video, watch Matt vs. Japan's video on them, and it sort of goes way more in depth on how these percentages play a role. But basically, this is what affects how you're going to learn and see these cards. When I was doing this, I was trying to look for the best method so that I could see, well, what is going to be the most proactive method? What's the exact percentage? And there really isn't one. There's science articles that you can read about it that says you're supposed to read at certain intervals. But as far as different subjects go, each subject has its own pattern that is best to memorize as. So these are the ones that I found work best from my research for Japanese. If you want to look more for Japanese, go ahead and scroll through videos, but I want to and post in the comments what your thoughts are, but I want to keep this as simple as possible. This will also work for memorizing words for anything school related. So if you want to remember terms, or if you want to go in the medical field, there's a lot of good videos on that as well. So this is all my settings here. For reviews, I like to set this to 99999. You don't want the algorithm to get messed with. For easy bonus, you want to set this to 130, interval modifier 191, maximum interval 365. This is again up to you. This is the days that you're gonna see the card again at most. So at most you won't see this card for a year, and that's what I personally want it, because I want to be able to see these words I'm memorizing at least once a year. You can set that higher. You can make it 1,000 days, 10,000 days by adding zeros, but I personally want to guarantee that if I'm putting something in here, I see it at least once a year. It's really up to you. Hard interval 120%. And then bury new reviews until the next day, check mark. That basically means if something has the same sort of content in the card, like if you there's a certain way that you can make cards, and I'll go over that real fast, that if you do that and they're both the same card where they share relative information and you see one of the cards, then you won't see that other card in that same day. So you're not seeing a bunch of cards with the same thing, so you can guess what the other thing is. Again, there's great videos on that, but I want to keep this one simple. Lapses 10, 50, 1, 8, and then I have tag only. What this means is if you get a card wrong 8 times, it tags it as a leech card, so you can know there's probably something wrong with that card. You can set this to suspend, so it'll get rid of the card, but personally I don't want cards to be gotten rid of unless I specifically do that myself. As in general, yeah, all these, this is just your basic timer settings. You would set it to this. This basically just means if you're AFK while you're doing your work, it won't add up on the timer. And then description, you can do whatever you want here. So those are the basic settings for the learning. Now you're really just good to go. There's a bunch of things up here. You don't really need to worry about it. This gets you started in Japanese. So if you guys just wanted a really quick way to get into it, that's basically it. If you want to know a little bit more, I will go on to show how to add decks of your own. So like right here, this is my deck. If you want to add cards, there's a couple of things here. I'll just explain these really quick. So this is the basic card layout. It's a little confusing. You gotta love Anki for it. But so you'll start out with something like this is what you'll see, is the basic deck. A basic flashcard, front and back, just like your normal flashcard with paper. You write something on the front, click, switch it to the back. And that's where all these deck options are, how to choose the different options. Over here is the deck you're going to be putting it into. So since the deck I'm making is my Japanese, I'm going to choose that one. So that's that one. Basic and reverse basically means that it'll put in, if you put hi and then the answer is bye, it'll flip it so bye is on the front and hi is on the back. And so you make 2 cards for everything you put in. Optional reverse card is, it gives you the option, fairly straightforward. If you want to put the option in right here, you can. You can read more on in depth of how that sort of plays into on their website, which I'll link below. The type in the answer is same thing, but you have to type what's on the back. Close, this is the most commonly used one for a lot of people. I personally like the basic because I'm doing vocab flip cards, but for a lot of people they'll use close. And what close is it allows you to say the capital of something of USA is Washington. And then what you can do is you can select these, you can click this, and basically what that does is when you're going to see this card, it's going to be behind 3 blue dots, and then you can click it and it will reveal it. If you want to learn more again about this, go ahead and look up a video on medical terminology or using this in the medical field, and it'll go into more details. That is the most common form. And back extra, you just fill that out for information, but the main of the card is just going to be, there's no flipping over, you're just revealing it by clicking next. And then lastly, the core 2000. So you can create card types, and when you get a deck, that's where this is coming from. So the deck has created its own card type, and you don't really need to know about this. It's a little too complicated, so don't really worry about it. Again, there's great information on the internet about it, but this will just have all your information listed for the core 2000 deck, and I'll show you a little bit of how to manipulate that. So the final thing I want to show you in this video is, well, real quick, I'll go over these. Browse, this is just all your information on your cards and stuff. You don't really need to understand this. I wouldn't worry about it too much. Again, watch different videos on it so you can get the really in-depth thing. Stats, this will have more information here as you do more. It just basically says how many cards you're doing a day, what you're learning, all the basic statistics on what you did that day, how many things you reviewed. If you want to review how you're making progress, what your information retention's looking like, you can come and look at here. And that's how you can sort of mess around with those settings. Again, that Matt versus Japan video, great place to check it out. Sync basically syncs it with Anki to your phone. So if you want to make a deck here, alterations, add things, do things, and then sync it with your phone so you can do it on the go, you can do that here as well. So the final thing I'm going to show you real quick here is if you go back into your deck, you click Study Now. This right here is something that I altered. So I don't personally know kanji. I just know the hiragana and katakana. And I don't want to learn kanji characters until way later, so I just wanted to learn with these characters. So how to make it easier for yourself, or if you want to alter these cards in any way, is actually fairly simple. You're just going to go ahead, and once you're at this card here, you're going to click Edit. And again, that complex card type that I was telling you about is right here. And you can kind of see the layout of this card. So you just saw this right there at the top. You saw the sentence at the bottom. This is going to be all that information that's laid out. It's going to be different for every deck. But again, if you're confused about it, just click Resume and you can see, okay, that's there. It says verb, says this, edit. Okay, I see how these sort of play around. There's that top thing. There's where it sort of had that information. And then you can sort of figure it out as you go with each deck where things are laid out. But usually it's fairly simple. So what I do is in this deck particularly, if you want to do what I do and learn with hiragana and katakana, is so I do the show answer and it'll give me the kanji with the hiragana on top. So I just go into edit and I basically just copy the hiragana and put it up here. So instead of it being kanji, it'll have the hiragana and katakana with it as well. So I just make these the same. And then that allows me to now learn with the hiragana and the kanji. So I'm seeing the kanji, but I'm doing the hiragana. So that way you guys that want to just study with hiragana can do that as well. All right. So that's basically everything, guys. If you have any questions or anything, feel free to post in the bottom. I'm not super in depth with Anki, but I wanted to give a basic starting guide because it seems like stuff is way too complicated. So hopefully this helps you guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Hopefully I can make more tutorials like this on things that seem complicated and make them a little bit more simpler for you guys. Thanks so much.